Coming up on the Sports Desk, we take a look at some very special athletes on the Bishop Montgomery campus. One has helped his football team rise from bottom feeder to Delray League contender, and now he has his sights set on serving his country. The other is here to show us his best is yet to come as a member of the Knights' powerhouse basketball team, Bishop's general on the hardwood, and what makes him so special. Plus, we threw out the first pitch in the Bigs this week, while here in the South Bay, two schools have been going at it for a while now. They may be in different leagues, but check out two crosstown squads whose 2013 destinies are oddly intertwined with each other. All that coming up and more right here on the Sports Desk. Hey there, Torrance. What's up? How y'all doing? I'm Wan Hernandez, your host, and welcome to another week right here on the Sports Desk. Well, now that it's officially baseball season in the big leagues, what better way to open up this week than on the diamond right here in Torrance? Specifically, we'll check out a couple teams that you may not think have much to do with one another. They don't play in the same league. They don't meet on the field outside of tournaments and random matchups when they can get away from Pioneer League and Bay League teams. But oddly enough, if we size up either of them so far in 2013, just can't help but notice that their paths keep crossing in every odd way imaginable this spring. In a city readied for geographical rivalries built right in, the tale of the South Spartans and West Warriors preseason battles have created a virtual 6 degrees of Torrance baseball as we head into Pioneer League and Bay League play. Two squads left on the outside looking in at the 2012 CIF playoff action, but with hot starts in 2013 to support the belief, this year could be different. At West, they're simply hoping there's no El Segundo tourney jinx, winning the preseason tournament for the second year in a row, but unable to carry that momentum into last regular season and eventually missing the postseason altogether. South was one win away from a 2012 playoff berth, looking up at two Torrance schools, the Saxons and the Tartars, that both won 20 games, tying them for second in the Pioneer League. And guess who's topped both schools already this spring? Yep, you've guessed it, the West Warriors. In closing innings, comeback fashion, both times. And how do the Spartans avoid falling behind such hefty competition? Well, looking at their preseason schedule, the strategy seems to be beat the Bay League. With preseason wins over Redondo, Peninsula, and Palos Verdes, 3 of the 4 Bay League teams the West Warriors finished behind in 2012, South High could find themselves as frontrunners for a 2013 Bay League title. If only they weren't in the Pioneer League. With the brown and gold serving as the 4th and final preseason Bay League bullseye left for Coach Grady Sains' squad. Yes, the same one-time West Warriors shortstop, Grady Sain. Matt McGolan proved to be one of the few hurlers who could quiet West's offense, tossing his 4th complete game of the season in this 4-2 road victory at West High, the juniors' last complete game victory over Palos Verdes, of course, last year's Bay League champion on the diamond, but please don't remind the Warriors of the most recent occasion they were left looking up at the Sea Kings this past fall when senior leaders Joey Notch and Tommy Oslin were in football pads playing against their rival for the CIF championship. With the majority of Warrior starters moving into new positions around the field this year, Notch and Oslin will be mainstays in the middle of the Warrior offense while also contributing to the team's pitching rotation. Meanwhile at South, returning 2 all-league ball players to your outfield, playing for a coach who's led you to the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 seasons and sporting a .563 winning percentage under that skipper, always reason to be confident. So the tables are set. 2 teams hoping for better fortunes in 2013 than they received in 2012. 2 campuses separated by 3 miles, sharing the same city but competing in different leagues. Each having topped the exact competition the other will have to beat in order to see the postseason and possibly more. 2 head-to-head matchups so far this spring. 1 win apiece for each. A preseason tourney championship that one school is hoping isn't some cruel jinx for the second year in a row. Speaking of which, did I forget to mention who the Warriors beat in the semifinals of that El Segundo tournament in March? Of course, as irony would have it, the South Spartans. So 2 matchups between South and West High on the diamond this spring. Box scores for you right here. You see the Warriors blanking South back in early March in that semifinal El Segundo tourney. Joey Notch going the distance for the Warriors, but the Spartans getting their revenge as non-league matchups wind down with the 4-2 win at West High last week. Plenty of common opponents between the two, so now that they're done facing off, might not be a bad idea to take some pointers from each other on how to top their league foes as we head into league play this week. Spartans build a bit of a hot streak now, smashing Palisades a few days later, 15-0. Perfect little run there to head into the Pioneer League season, where they'll take on the Tartars this week. As for the Warriors, they start off with a 9-game winning streak. They're going to go 9-1 in their first 10 of the season, but then that loss to South, followed up by another loss to La Cañada, 8-2, and another to Arcadia. That makes it 4 in a row, and the West Warriors heading into their Bay League season officially in a funk now. Those games part of the Arcadia Invitational for the Warriors, so they still have a little more preseason baseball to go before starting it all off against Miracosta next week. Warriors taking on the Mustangs April 10th. And over at North High, the Saxons getting a streak going right now. They wrap up their 4th consecutive victory with a trouncing of Lawndale, their 2nd game over Lawndale last week. 9-1 the score in this one, with righty Jacob Peck taking to the mound and shutting the Cardinals down in a complete game effort. Peck strikes out 5, allows 3 hits, facing his first 5 batters, then just mowed them down the rest of the way. 15 of the next 17 Cardinals retired. Of course, any pitcher will tell you their job is a whole lot easier when they've got some support. The Saxons put up 3 runs right away in the first inning and cruised to this one. Sophomore Devin Nakagawa leading the way offensively with 2 hits on the day, driving in 3 runs to put the Saxons off to a hot start in the Pioneer League. The Torrance Tartars looking to find their way, kind of back and forth, up and down all spring so far. Prepping for their 2 against the Spartans this week, the Tartars are 5-1 at home and 1-5 on the road this year. They dropped games to both Culver City and Los Alamitos this past week. Again, that first Pioneer League showdown against South going down this week. And one more high school baseball squad out here. Another school actually enduring a bit of an off and on preseason was the Bishop Montgomery Knights. Oaks Christian comes to town and shuts down the Knights offense. They managed just 3 hits against the Lions and were in danger of getting blanked altogether until they get 1 up on the board in the bottom of the 7th. All right, everybody, coming up after the break, more spring sports coming up for you, but first, we cruise on down to the Bishop Montgomery campus for a little while to feature 2 athletes in different sports doing great things in uniform, out of uniform. It doesn't matter either way, they're each making the Knights community proud. Check it out when we come back.
I'm just lying here, don't you see me? Pick me up, pick me up. If I'm lying here, can't you see me? Pick me up, pick me up.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and has the medals to prove it. Soon after leaving the Navy, Lieutenant Chris Scott found a job, a home, and started a family of his own. Corpsman Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to good use as a paramedic. But soon after leaving the military, each of these veterans fell on hard times and faced homelessness. Even after Michelle lost all her savings, even after Chris wasn't able to pay his mortgage, and even after Richard battled alcoholism for years, they each reached out for help when they needed it most. A simple phone call put them in touch with a trained professional from the Department of Veterans Affairs. That call got Michelle a place to stay until she could afford one of her own, put Chris in touch with employment assistance, and found Richard a substance abuse program. These veterans are success stories not only for how they were able to help others while serving their country, but for how they were able to let others help them. If you know of or are a veteran in need, make the call.
Hey there, Torrance. Welcome back to the Sports Desk. Now, last segment, we got you caught up to speed on prep baseball as everybody gears up to play league games right around the corner here. But backing it up just a little, we got to see a lot of action this past winter with the Bishop Montgomery Knights stomping their way to a 32-2 record, a run at the state title, and at one point a number 2 national ranking in prep hoops. Leading the way, undoubtedly the smallest guy on the court, but clearly out-hustling everybody in the gym every play. playing defense every play. Ladies and gentlemen, get familiar with the point guard that will be doing more of the same next year, Justin Bibbins. Brittany Johnson has that story.
I'm a point guard. I control the tempo of the floor, play hard defense. When the clock's going down, I'm the one that with the ball and calming teammates down and just handling everything on the floor.
Justin Bibbins, or JB as he is known to many, is a junior point guard for the Bishop Montgomery men's varsity basketball team. Averaging just over 13 points, 5 assists, and 3 steals a game, Justin helped lead his team to the 4th round of the CIF State Championships. But before we talk about the playoffs, let's back it up a little bit. If you haven't had the chance to check out the Knights this year, you missed out on a fast-paced, defensive-minded team led by a level-headed point guard that enjoys the pressures of the game.
It just teaches me how to be a leader out there and on and off the floor. And I just like pressure. I like big games, so it doesn't really faze me much.
Head coach Doug Mitchell says when the game is on the line, there's nothing else you can do than to trust your point guard. Come game time, Coach Mitchell knows that Justin will be able to read the defense and come up big when they need him in clutch situations.
It's going to be what the defense gives them. I mean, it might be a 3, it might be a 2, it might be a pull-up jump shot, it might be a runner, it could be a pass inside, but that's on him. At that point, I don't have any control. It's about him.
As a young player, Justin relied a lot on his speed and explosiveness, but over the years, he has gotten a better understanding of how the tempo and the score of the game should be.
I used to just take everyone one-on-one and didn't have no sense of change of direction and speed. It was always one speed.
This year, the Knights broke a few school records. They beat their own record of most league wins in a row, most wins in a regular season, and being ranked number 2 was their highest national ranking.
We reached a lot of our goals. We didn't get the state championship we really badly wanted, but I think as time passes, we'll remember what a phenomenal team this was.
Not winning a CIF championship or a state, and it's my senior year, there's a sense of urgency to win something. So we came short, but I know that next year's team, I'm going to have to push a lot harder for them to win.
He's maybe the most competitive kid I've ever coached in 24 years. I mean, he just loves to compete. He loves the game. The bigger the game, and he said earlier, I like big games. He plays better in big games. The more pressure, the better he plays. So he just loves to compete.
Growing up, Justin may have looked up to players like Chris Paul, but his biggest competition was his older brother, Brandon. And as you can see, the one-on-one battles never end. JB is part of 5 returners for next season. Everyone better get ready because he will return with a chip on his shoulder and a point to prove. And he will be willing and ready to knock anyone down that stands in his team's way of getting a CIF championship and state title.
Thanks for that, Brittany. Keeping it on the hardwood and checking out some of JB's teammates. South High hosted the South Bay Athletic Club All-Star Game. Big surprise, it's a Bishop Montgomery Knights stealing the show in an exhibition of the area's best ball players. OG Milkovich throws down 19 for the blue team. Knights teammate Larry Taylor III, actually playing opposite OG, had to watch it all go down as he suited up for the red team in an all-star game, which actually doesn't determine squads based on which schools athletes regularly play for. So a little bit of friendly competition in this one. The blue team wins both the boys and the girls matchups. The ladies seeing a 76-65 decision over the red team. Danny Lee of the Knights leading her red team in the losing effort with 22 points on the evening. And we'll meet another Bishop athlete next who won't be around next fall to put on pads for the Knights football team, but he will be wearing black and gold. In fact, technically he'll still be a Knight, only it'll be for an academy he's decided to attend, more out of a desire to serve than to simply strap up on Saturdays. No doubt, Jonathan Kim will be making the Bishop Montgomery community just as proud next year as anybody else wearing a Knights uniform.
Bishop Montgomery is not a place that has the nicer or the newer facilities, but it is a place that is rich in tradition, and that is a virtue that Jonathan Kim values greatly. It is also the very thing that is propelling them down his path. Soccer is a tradition in itself in the Kim household. Jonathan started playing around the age of 6 and continued throughout high school.
I think my brothers were like the best soccer players I've ever seen. Like, my brothers are really good at soccer, and I mean, I used to always try to like ask them for little tips in soccer. I definitely did not think that I would play football. I always thought that soccer was going to be my sport.
Largely because his older brothers set the tone and left an impression of their own at Bishop.
I was definitely in my brother's shadows here.
But that wouldn't last long. Jonathan is the only player at Bishop named All-League all 4 years, and he tied their school record for the longest field goal, a 52-yarder.
I know I wanted to join the military, but I never knew about this military academy, West Point. My brother got offered a scholarship to play soccer there, and that's when I first heard of West Point.
Although that path was already formed, Jonathan would decide to take the road less traveled and choose to dedicate himself to football over soccer.
I think it was the experience of football, especially in high school, and just the rush, like during football, like when you're in a game, when I'm kicking a field goal or making a tackle. Kind of nervous about football. It's such a big jump from high school football to this college level Division I football team, so it's pretty nerve-wracking.
2 words to sum it up: personal courage, which is one of the Army's core values. Not only courage to step on the field, but to follow his dream relentlessly.
I didn't apply to any other schools. I applied just to West Point, focused on West Point, focused on football. Plan B was definitely the prep school at West Point. And if that didn't work out, I was thinking about joining the Army, just going a recruiter, joining the Army. When I was younger, I used to see like soldiers walking around in uniforms, and I always thought how sophisticated they look, and it just looked really cool to me when I was young.
And with that, the Kims would start a new tradition. When his brothers graduate from West Point and have gone on, Jonathan will still have another band of brothers to remind him why he's doing it.
I have more than one motivation though, like definitely those soldiers that go through everyone in the armed forces. And my 2 brothers, all the things they went through at West Point and all the hardships they had to go through over there. And I really want to make it to the end and just make my family proud. Yes, I am scared, but I'm willing to go through it.
Thanks for that, Letitia. All right, everybody. Coming up right after the break, we've still got plenty of news and some more scores to give you right here on the show. Plus, the El Camino Warriors a little out of character on the softball field. See if they can get a grip on conference play.
I believe that home is where your pet is.
And that loving an animal means never giving up on them, never letting them go.
I believe that when you spay or neuter your pets, you help decrease the number of homeless animals.
Because every dog and cat deserves a place to call home.
I believe that I found my best friend at a shelter. And you can too.
We believe that together with Best Friends Animal Society,
we can bring about a time when there are no more homeless pets.
Visit ambassadors.bestfriends.org.
Hey there, Torrance. Welcome back to the show. We've had a little action on the baseball diamond today already in the Bay League and Pioneer League. Real quick before we move into our next highlight, check out one more baseball team we've got in town here. The El Camino Warriors lost a hold of one last we saw against Mount Sac, coming back strong in non-conference play against Irvine Valley College. First to two, and they come from behind, down 2-0 early on. The Warriors rally off 7 unanswered runs over the middle 3 innings to rout IVC. 3 Elko players have a 3-hit day. That's a lot of lucky bats for an equipment manager to take care of, and apparently he or she did their job though, because the next one, Elko comes back and completes the sweep. So the Warriors looking back on track. They'll get back to conference play in the SEC against East LA next week, whom they are currently tied with for first in the South Coast Conference. Keeping it over at El Camino as we move over to the softball field, our Jenny Phillips caught up with the Warriors' fast pitch squad to catch an out-of-character game and see the ladies' plan to bounce back from a lopsided loss.
Cerritos at Elko today, the first time these two teams met this season. The Warriors were blown out 14-4 at Cerritos. Let's see if they can turn things around at home. Cerritos coming off with a hot start, getting on the board early with 2 runs in the first inning. But Elko matching their intensity, the Warriors hanging in and staying with the Falcons, down only 2-1 through 2. Third inning, the Cerritos bats really coming alive, with the Falcons putting up an impressive 9 runs. Despite a big offensive showing from Ray Benavente, who tried to rally the team, going 2 for 3 with 2 runs, the Warriors were unable to come back from the deficit. Mercied after 5 innings, Elko drops this one 15-3.
I think we started out flat, and that just set the tone for the whole game, and no one really was the catalyst and picked it up today. Our hits didn't come through as they usually do, which it wasn't our game, because that did not really reflect how we are as a team, because we are much better. So it was just didn't really go our way.
Our just mental game was not focused, and we needed to do a better job of picking that up.
Definitely a devastating loss for the Lady Warriors this afternoon. A whopping 4 errors contributed to this little bump in the road for what's otherwise been a promising season. Their conference record now drops to 8-6, and El is looking forward to putting this all behind them and moving on to the next game. From El Camino College, I'm Jenny Phillips for the Sports Desk.
Thanks for that, Jenny. Last week we showed you all the action at the Torrance National Tournament. One team we didn't get the chance to see recently at the Torrance National Tournament is the South Spartans, who have kicked off their 2013 Pioneer League season in strong fashion. Coming off their deep CIF playoff run from last year, the Spartans have been hovering just under a 500 record heading into league play. They couldn't have started off any stronger than by routing Lawndale. 17-1 the final score in this one, featuring 17 hits from South. Spartans going to need the hot start to the league play and those big bats, because up this week they'll be facing off against crosstown rival Torrance. We did get the chance to look at West High at the TNT, taking on some of the best in prep fast pitch in last week's show, but opening up Bay League play, things getting a little rough against Redondo. They're all knotted up looking at the box score. If you could take out the fourth frame, when Redondo punched out 7 runs with 11 hits against the Warriors. A brutal fourth inning does West High in, actually a 0-0 score until the top of the fourth. The Warriors able to answer back with 4 runs of their own right away, but that huge hole too big to fill, and West High drops their Bay League opener. They do bounce back though in a 2-game series against Gar. The Warriors bringing their bats this year, 22 runs scored across 3 games last week, so offense not looking like much of a problem at this point in the season. And in volleyball, checking in with the South Spartans as they continue their 2013 campaign to defend that CIF banner. Some bumps in the road this season, but overall the Spartans looking great. They earned their 2nd win in a row against Pioneer League teams with the sweep of North. Just 3 sets between the rivals, with the second going all the way to 30-28 to decide a winner. So South 2-1 against Torrance schools so far this season as we move deeper into spring. Okay, folks, what else we got? I know a lot of you are on spring break right now and in the coming weeks, so shoot us a message. Let us know how we're doing over here at the Sports Desk, or feel free to just say hey. 310-618-5762 is the number, and our email, sportsdesk@torranceca.gov. All right, everybody, that wraps it up for us this week. We'll see you next time with a little more action.